Om Namo Narayana. Jai Sri Ramakrishna.
Om Namo Narayana. Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of the lives of direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. We are now studying the life of Swami Swatmaramananda ji. We will continue from where we had left in the last class. Swami Swatmaramananda is telling about Ramakrishna. Sometimes the master would say, the Divine Mother herself has come to visit the world in human form, meaning himself. When people of all sects assemble here, this body will not last. So, as I told you, there is no difference between gods and goddesses. It is the same one God, the Parabrahma Swarupa. Take a female form. For the sake of the devotees of their evolution and taste, some people like to worship as mother, some people like to worship as father. The different ways to suit the different needs. Ramakrishna is telling that the Lord comes down to the earth as avatara and fulfill all their desires and give them God realization. So here he's telling about himself. He was Lord Vishnu, Narayana, who has come down, Gadadhara Vishnu, who had come down to this earth, the Parabrahma Swarupa. But he's telling the Divine Mother herself has come to visit the world in human form, meaning himself. When people of all sects assemble here, this body will not last. One day, while walking in the Panchavati at Dakshineshwar, the master went into ecstasy. Then, facing the northwest, he pointed to himself and said, "Look, the mother is saying that the more persons think of me, the more quickly he will understand the highest truths." So Ramakrishna, whatever he used to talk in ecstasy, it would directly come from the divine. So just like the Vedas or the secrets or the truths of God revealed through the purified mind of the rishis. In their high state, they used to give the truths, and they are recorded as scriptures, mantras of the Vedas. Here, similarly, Ramakrishna is going to a very high state of samadhi and bringing in so many truths. So, when he is telling that Ramakrishna went into ecstasy and coming down, he is telling these truths. So, they are wonderful truths coming from the Lord directly from the source. So, now, one day while walking in the Panchavati at Dakshineshwar, the master went into ecstasy. Then, facing the northwest, he pointed to himself and said, "Look, the mother is saying that the more a person thinks of me, the more quickly he will understand the highest truths." of religion, that is, you can tell 200% truth, I have seen in my own experience. And many places Ramakrishna himself would tell, if you concentrate somehow, if you focus on this meaning, Ramakrishna, somehow you focus your mind on me, and you will get anything and everything, whatever you want, you can get it. You can get the highest truth. So here the Divine Mother is telling, look, the Mother is saying that the more a person thinks of me, that is Ramakrishna, if you think of Ramakrishna, if you meditate on Ramakrishna, the more quickly, the more quickly you will understand the highest truths of religion. Again, pointing to the northwest, Ramakrishna said, I shall be born again in that direction. Then many people will attain knowledge. On another occasion, the Master told me about himself. This body is a cage of flesh and bone, but the Divine Mother is playing inside it. He who was Rama and he who was Krishna is now presently living in this body. So the avatara, the person or the Lord who comes during all the avatara is the same person. Whether it is Narasimha, whether it is Narayana, whether it is Kachapa, the tortoise form, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Rama, Krishna, Parashurama. It is the same one Lord coming to arrest the decline of Dharma. So Ramakrishna is telling, he who was Rama and he who was Krishna, this time he has come down in this body as Ramakrishna. Now Subodhanandaji is telling, Ramakrishna would freely talk to the disciples about the struggles and experiences of his spiritual journey. Now Ramakrishna, from the beginning of his spiritual journey, he saw the Divine Mother in all the women. As a result, no woman could tempt him. He couldn't fall to the bodily temptation because he saw only Divine Mother in all the women. Once the Master said to Subodh, Subodh, during my sadhana days, when I was young, I was practicing sadhanas, I was always in a God-intoxicated state. One day, while I was picking grass, durva grass for puja, sitting under the Panchavati in Dakshineshwar, a beautiful young woman came and stood behind me. She was trying to draw my attention, but I was unaware of her presence. After waiting for a long time, she felt neglected and then said to me, Hello Sadhu, I have been standing behind you for a long time. Neither did you look at me nor did you talk to me. I have visited many places. Wherever I went, everyone eagerly talked to me or asked me to stay in their places. You are a wonderful detached monk. You didn't even look at me even once. Subodh learnt a lesson and he told this incident to Master Mahashay, this Mahendranath Gupta. Subodh's contact with the Master has not been extensively recorded in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna because Mahendranath Gupta, Yam, would come to Master or Dakshineshwar on the weekends. He was a teacher, so he'll be working. So whenever he would used to get chance on holidays or weekends, or rarely on the working day, would come in the evenings. But here, the hero of our study, that is Swami Subodhananda at that time, Subodh, he used to come to Ramakrishna on the weekdays. So that's why Subodh's contact with Sri Ramakrishna has not been extensively recorded in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, only some places, or in the Great Master, because Subodh visited Master secretly on weekdays so that his parents would not know about it. Sometime he would run away from the school and return home before evening after visiting the Master in Dakshineshwar. In September 1885, Sri Ramakrishna moved to Shampukur in northern Calcutta for cancer treatment. Whenever Subodh found any opportunity, he used to visit Master. One day, while Ramakrishna was in Shampukur, it was Kali Puja day in the year 1885. You know, in Bengal, people worship Divine Mother very much, Shakta. So Kali is the main deity there. They revere Kali too much. Now, on Kali Puja day in 1885, Subodh met Master Mahashay at 9 a.m. in their family temple, Siddheshwari temple, where the latter had come to offer worship at Master's behest. Now, Subodh was very sad because he could not go to meet Master with Yam on that auspicious day of Kali worship. Now, Master Mahashay, Mahendranath Gupta, consoled Subodh. Don't feel bad, my boy. Today is Kali Puja, an auspicious day. Please make yourself cheerful. Don't be sad on this auspicious day of Kali Puja. Subodh then told Mahendranath Gupta his plan. Tonight, when everyone will be busy in the temple worship of Mother Siddheshwari, that is Kali, in the worship service, I shall secretly visit the Master in the dead of the night. So on that particular night, there was a special worship. Especially Kali Puja is done on Amavasya, and the whole night they will worship Divine Mother Kali. On Palaharani Kali Puja, which happened just few days back, or any other Kali Puja on the Deepavali, on the Amavasya day, the whole night they will worship Mother Kali. On that particular night, there was a special worship of Divine Mother. Now, here too, in Shampukur, what happened in Shampukur? Because Ramakrishna has moved to Shampukur for the treatment of the cancer. So on that Kali Puja, particular night, there was a special worship at Shampukur house also. And what did the devotees do on that day, special day? Devotees worshipped Sri Ramakrishna as Divine Mother Kali. In the darkness of the early morning hours, Subodh speedily, when all were busy in the worship and they were all tired of the Kali Puja there in the Siddheshwari temple, what did Subodh do? Subodh secretly, speedily reached the Master in Shampukur and surprised him. Now Ramakrishna was surprised. He told, my goodness, where did you come from? Asked Sri Ramakrishna. Subodh humbly replied, Sir, yesterday I couldn't come with Mahendranath Gupta to see you. Since then my heart has been restless to see you. I didn't sleep at all last night. Now after seeing you, I feel peaceful. The Master joyfully told all his attendants, Look, listen to what this boy says. This boy was longing to see me, and so he spent a sleepless night. Please give him some prasad of Mother Kali which you offered now. Subodh returned home. Now his mother asked him, "Where have you been, my child? I thought you were sleeping somewhere in the house." Subodh replied, "I went to see the master at Shampukur. Please don't tell it to others, mother." During one visit, knowing about the recent aggravation of master's throat pain, because the throat cancer was increasing, the pain also in the throat was increasing. During one visit, knowing about the recent aggravation of master's throat pain, Subodh, he was a very simple boy, too simple, like a child. So Subodh simply said, "Sir, you should you used to live in a damp room in Dakshineshwar. As a result, it seems you have a sore throat because of the cold. So please drink tea. Your cancer or your throat pain will be cured." You know, whenever we have sore throats in our house, we drink tea and soreness goes away. If you want, I can bring hot tea, some good tea from my home. Immediately, see, childlike Subodh, in a simple way, is telling these things. He thinks that drinking hot tea can cure cancer. And hearing those words, Ramakrishna is more childlike. The Gnanis, the realized soul, they behave like children, small children. So after hearing these words, immediately the childlike master called Rakal and others and said, Look, look what Subodh is telling. I want to drink some tea. Please bring some warm tea." This boy, Subodh, says that I will be cured of cancer if I drink tea. Then Rakal said, "Sir, tea is very hot. It may aggravate your throat. You may not be able to bear it. So it's not good." Then immediately, childlike master told, "No, no, then it is not necessary," said the master. Then he consoled Subodh. "Subodh, hot tea will not suit me." Now, Subodh himself was so simple and childlike, and Subodh was moved by the master's childlike nature. Simplicity is a hallmark of spirituality. The complex you are, the more away from spirituality. The simple you are, the more nearer to God you are. God is simple. On 11th December 1885, Sri Ramakrishna was moved from Shampukur to Kashipur. One day, the master asked Subodh to copy a devotional song. What is that devotional song? Sitapati Ramachandra Raghupati Raghurai, written by Tulsidas. I have recorded that, and it was released, I think, 2 years back. It is there in the record. If our people, the handlers of this Google Meet, if you can get it, you can play it. Sitapati Ramachandra Raghupati Raghurai, Bhajale Ayodhyanath Dusarana Koi. That beautiful song. Sitapati Ramachandra Raghupati Raghurai, Bhajale Ayodhyanath Dusarana Koi. It's a beautiful song written by Tulsi Das ji on Ramachandra. So now, one day the master asked Subodh to copy the devotional song Sitapati Ramachandra Raghupati Raghurai, composed by Saint Tulsi Das. But Subodh, this boy, declined by saying that his handwriting was not good enough. The master insisted, "Please copy that song. It does not matter whether your writing is good or bad. But Subodh was insistent. The boy, Subodh, still would not agree. Now the master said, "You are really a dumbbell, neglecting your studies. You only played with your friends." Being thus scolded or reprimanded, Subodh smiled at master. The master also laughed and said, "My boy, aren't you upset that I scolded you?" To which Subodh replied, "Sir, even your scoldings are sweet." The master then joyfully called his other disciples and said, "Boys, boys, listen to this. What this small boy says? He says that even my scoldings are sweet." Before Subodh left, the master blessed Subodh by touching his head. See, you have a lesson. How, when people scold you, when people hurt you, you can take that in a different way. You need not be insulted. Why do we get insulted? Because we are identifying with our ego. Our ego is too strong. That's why we get hurt. But you can see this boy or the youth, Subodh. Ramakrishna is reprimanding him, scolding him, but is laughing at it. He laughed it out. Ramakrishna himself was surprised. Ramakrishna is telling, "You are really a dumbbell, neglecting your studies. You only played with your friends." Being thus reprimanded, Subodh smiled and laughed. The master watched him, also laughed and said, "My boy, aren't you upset that I scolded you?" Subodh replied, "Sir, even your scoldings are sweet." See how nicely you can ward off the scolding and the problem. We unnecessarily take it to our in our stride or ego, take it seriously, and then suffer and suffer. Because we love suffering, we don't want to come out of it. So here is a way how you can come out of all these scoldings. Subodhanandaji has taught it. Laugh it out. Now Ramakrishna is again asking him, "I've scolded you. Are you not upset?" Then he told, "Sir, your scolding is also so beautiful." You know, in the case of Swami Vivekananda, as a youth of 17 or 18, was coming to Ramakrishna. You know, Ramakrishna loved him so much that when Narayan would come, he would tell Na, Na, Re, and he would go to Samadhi. He would be so happy because it was Sakshat Shiva. Shiva Avatara. So he respected and loved Narayan so much. The moment Narayan would come, he would be so happy. He couldn't withstand. The moment he saw Narayan, he would tell Na, Na, Re, and he used to go to Samadhi. Such was the immensity of love towards that Narayan. One day, suddenly, Ramakrishna stopped talking to him. No talking at all. Narayan comes earlier, he used to prepare good things and feed him. With his own hands, he used to feed him. He used to talk so lovingly to him, always focusing on Narayan. Narayan, always Narayan, Narayan. Used to be praising to everybody about Narayan. Now suddenly, neglect, upeksha. He was not even look at Narayan. Narayan is coming. Ramakrishna is not talking at all. So this went on for days, weeks, and months. Narayan comes there, and Ramakrishna neglects him. He would not even look at him, talk at him. So even though he is moving in front of him, Ramakrishna neglected him. Ramakrishna was testing his disciple in this way. So many days happened, he is not at all talking. Then finally, one day, Ramakrishna asked him, "What is this, Narayan? I'm not at all talking to you. I'm not at all looking at you. I'm completely neglecting you. In spite of that, you come here. Why are you coming here?" Then Narayan replied, "Dear sir, I come here not that you should recognize me or praise me, I come here because I love you and respect you. That's all. I don't expect anything from you, whether you neglect me or you talk to me. That is irrespective. I just like you, love you, I have devotion or respect to you. That's all. I come to you and then go back. I don't expect anything from you. That was the reply. Ramakrishna was so surprised. What a great soul he is. When you, in that bad way, disrespect him or ignore him, be normal people, our ego will be hurt and we'll never turn back. In our life, we will not go to them at all. But Narendra was a great receptacle. See the reply. So you can see how in these life of great souls like Narendra, that is Swami Vivekananda and Subodh, how they withstood the neglect, the insults, the reprimand without being affected. So these are also the same way we are taught by our elders and by our family members to suffer and suffer the scoldings, and you go on suffering. There are also other methods how we can turn that in a good way. We can learn. We have to learn all these things. When we hear, when we study the lives, then see we too can learn. Now here, Narendra also was tested by Master thoroughly. He neglected him for days together. Suddenly, so much of praise, so much of love shown, and another day or for months, nothing at all. In the extremes, Narendra was not at all disturbed. Then why do you come here? Even though I have neglected you, insulted you, because sir, I don't expect anything from you. I just love you, I respect you. That's all. I come to you. So that was the receptacle, the great receptacle. Other normal people, their ego will be hurt and they will run away. And see here, this boy, Ramakrishna scolded him, reprimanded him. He's telling, you are really a dumbbell, neglecting your studies, you only played with your friends. Being thus reprimanded, Subodh started smiling. So simple. You don't have complexities, angularities. So you will not take that as an insult. Though scolded, reprimanded, our Subodh started laughing at it, smiling at it. Looking at this boy smiling in spite of being scolded, the master also started laughing and then said, my boy, aren't you upset that I scolded you? Subodh replied, sir, even your scoldings are so sweet. The master then joyfully called his other disciples and said, boys, listen to what this boy says. He says that even my scoldings are so sweet. So Ramakrishna was very happy that this boy doesn't have ego at all. Even the scoldings he has taken in the right stride, in the right spirit, and he's seeing sweetness there too. So it's only your attitude. Change in attitude can convert even the worst of the situation into a good situation. Before Subodh left that day, the master blessed him by touching his head. So now Subodh is narrating another incident about Sri Ramakrishna's last illness in Kashipur. It was extremely difficult for the master to talk. Now one day, Subodh is telling, I said to him, sir, if you wish, you can get well, you can believe that
जग के सारी जानत हो जग
what you have said is true. I can cure myself. There is nothing which is impossible to me. The master said, but I shall not try to save this body, which is made out of flesh and bone, blood and marrow. Should I give my mind? I have given my mind to God. Once I have given my mind to God, finished. I will not give it to anything ungodly. Brahmasatya Jagan Mithya. Should I give my mind to this untrue thing, this body, the flesh of cage and bones and marrow and blood? I give my mind to this to cure this. I have given my mind to God. Evening Mandukya Upanishad class. What is that? So many times I have told. Whatever is created is subject to destruction. In Bhagavad Gita also we have read it. Lord Krishna has told that in the second chapter. And in the Mandukya Upanishad also we have seen about creation, the unreal world. Whatever which is created has to be destroyed. So Ramakrishna is now stating the same thing here. The truth is the same always. He is telling whatever created is subject to destruction. So I will not give my mind to this inert thing, the unreal thing. I have given to God once. That's all. Now no more compromises. I will never give my mind to any other thing but God. God and God alone. So shall I give my mind to this body? Never. Whatever is created is subject to destruction. Then Ramakrishna said to me, Subodh is narrating that, my child, promise that you will never ask me to cure my body again. Promise that you will never ask me this again. Thus the master made me to promise. So now you can see why Ramakrishna didn't cure that disease. I have given my mind to God. I will not give to any other thing at all, the untrue thing. So that's why in Mandukya Upanishad we are separating the Atman from the Anatman, the real from the unreal. So why do we separate it? To give our mind to the real, not to the unreal. The moment you give the mind to the real, then you should not give it to the unreal. So Ramakrishna is telling, I have given my mind to God. I will not turn it to cure this disease or something else, this body of cage and flesh. Whatever is created is subject to destruction. And also he made me to promise, my dear child, promise that you will never ask me this again. Thus the master made me promise. Now another incident in Kashipur. One day at Kashipur, Subodh privately asked the master to bless him so that he could realize God. Ramakrishna affectionately patted his back thrice and said, yes, yes, you will realize God, and in the future many people will learn from you. Sri Ramakrishna gave up his body in Samadhi, Mahasamadhi, on 16th August 1886. When Subodh heard of Sri Ramakrishna's giving up his body, he cried out while holding his mother, and he also fell unconscious. His father ordered that water be splashed over his head and face to return him to consciousness. Now after that, Subodh did not go to Kashipur either because of his family's resistance or because he thought that the grief and pain would be too much for him to bear. He was then only 19 years old. Now after Ramakrishna gave up his body, the disciple Subodh, he spent the next some few years in austerity and traveling paribrajana to pilgrimage. From his very birth, Subodh was endowed with passion for God. So yesterday while I was talking in the satsang, now Bhairavi Brahmani told Ramakrishna. He addressed Bhairavi Brahmani in the period of sadhana and told, I am God intoxicated, I am thinking of God, and people, because of my visions and other behavior, they call me mad. What do you think about it, mother? And Ramakrishna asked Bhairavi Brahmani told, some people are passionate or mad after money, some people are mad after women, and some people are mad after men, children, name and fame, their pride, their family, their houses, their vehicles, they are mad after vehicles, money, and so many other things. All are mad. Nobody is here in this world who is not mad. But she told Ramakrishna that your madness is for God. So I think they are putting that song which Ramakrishna asked Subodh to copy. Let us hear that wonderful song, Sitapati Ramachandra Raghupati Raghurai. Ramakrishna would sing and also copy down the songs of Tulsidas. He loved it. Let us also now hear that song. Sitapati Ramachandra Raghupati Raghurai. Please play it.
सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई, सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई, भजले अयोध्यनाथ दूसरा न कोई, भजले अयोध्यनाथ दूसरा न कोई, सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई, सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई। रसना रसनाम लेत संतन को दर्श देत, ईशत मुख चंद्र बिंदु सुंदर सुखदाई, ईशत मुख चंद्र बिंदु सुंदर सुखदाई, सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई, सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई। हसन बोलन चतुर चाल, आयन रसिका सुहाई सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई। केशर को तिलक भाल मानो रवि प्रात काल केशर को तिलक भाल मानो रवि प्रात काल मानो गिरि शिखर होरी सुरसरी बहि राई मानो गिरि शिखर होरी सुरसरी बहि राई सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई। मलात रतिपति छवि छाई श्रवण कुंडल छल मलात रतिपति छवि छाई सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई। सहित सरयू तीर विहरे रघुवंशवीर सखा सहित सरयू तीर विहरे रघुवंशवीर तुलसीदास हर्ष निरखि चरण रज पाई तुलसीदास हर्ष निरखि चरण रज पाई सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई। भजले अयोध्यानाथ दूसरा न कोई भजले अयोध्यानाथ दूसरा न कोई सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई सीतापति रामचंद्र रघुपति रघुराई रघुपति रघुराई रघुपति रघुराई।
we heard that wonderful song written by Tulsi Dasji. Ramakrishna liked it and he was asking Subodh to copy that song. So now we will now go forward to the life, the itinerant or the wandering life in search of spirituality, sadhana life of Subodh. From his very birth, Subodh was endowed with passion for God. As I told you, some people are mad for something. But Ramakrishna, when we read Ramakrishna, see, why did Ramakrishna tell that mother had told anybody who meditates or one who thinks of me, that is Ramakrishna, they can easily progress forward in spiritual life. The progress will be very quick. So now you can see here, because he is filled only with God and God alone. That's why if you think of Ramakrishna, you will automatically love God. You will get that your heart will be enkindled to realize God. That is the important thing, nothing else. Ramakrishna is asking to think of him or read about him, not that to make a new sect or something, but any person, Divine Mother has shown that any person thinking of him, it will increase your vyakulata for God realization. Now you can see the contact with Sri Ramakrishna has brought that madness for God. You go to the worldly people, do their dussanga, bad company, you will get the worldly desires. Satsanga will give you the desire for realization of your true self, God realization. Satsangatve nissangatvam, nissangatve nischalatatvam, nischalatatve nirmohatvam. Then Jivan Muktihi, Shankaracharya is told in the Mohamudgara, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, Samprapte, Sannihite Kale, Nahinahi Rakshati Dukrunkarane. So there Shankaracharya tells Satsangatve Nissangatvam. So the Satsanga, the company of the good people, it brings in the desire for God realization, the detachment to all these bad things. So now the contact, the Satsanga of Ramakrishna has now endowed Subodh with passion for God and automatically the dispassion for the world. After the Guru's passing away, the fire of renunciation was enkindled in his heart. Without master, he felt empty, and his home became a prison to him. It is said that when Holy Mother Sharda Devi moved from Kashipur to Balram Babu's house in Calcutta, Subodh visited her every day. Subodh tried to finish his education, but as soon as he would open a book, he would see the master standing in front of him. He slept very little and he felt no inclination to eat. He would spend a long time in meditation in the temple that belonged to his family, that is the Siddheshwari Kali temple. When the Holy Mother Sharda Devi was staying at Kamarpukur, after the pilgrimage, Subodh went to visit her there. Subodh was very happy to see the birthplace of Sri Ramakrishna and also the birthplace of Holy Mother Sharda Devi, Jairambati and Kamarpukur. After receiving Holy Mother's blessing, Subodh returned to Calcutta. It soon became unbearable for him to stay at home. So one day he simply walked away. He first went to the family temple, the Siddheshwari Kali temple, and prostrated before the Divine Mother to ask her blessings. He felt that the Divine Mother Siddheshwari Kali smiled and told him, Don't be afraid, my child, I'm always with you. Subodh crossed the Ganga and started walking on the Grand Trunk Road, which led to Varanasi, Kashi, some 500 miles away. So 500 miles away means something like nearing 700 or 1000 kilometers. His longing was so intense that he felt his life was useless without God realization. So when will we feel like that? Without God realization, this life should be miserable. We are just forgotten God and enjoying this world. When Swami Brahmanandaji, Rakhal Maharaj, later on in his older days, one of the devotees, his older devotees came and praised him. Oh Swamiji, you are such great renunciate, you have given up everything. Then Rakhal Maharaj or Subodhanandaji told him, what is that you are telling that we are great renunciates? We monks are not renunciates at all. You householders are great renunciates. What is this, Swamiji? Are you cracking jokes? Are you making fun of me? No, I'm serious. You people are great renunciates. We monks are not renunciates at all. How is that, Swamiji? Please explain. What have we given up? What is renunciation? To give up for something higher. See you, what have we given up, the monks? We have given up this small, puny, unreal, useless world for the sake of infinite, big God. What is there in that? We've given up very small, puny world for the sake of infinite God. And see you people, householders, have renunciated God itself, biggest, the highest. You have renounced God itself, given up God itself, and caught hold of this small world. So whose renunciation is greater? You've given up God himself, isn't it? So your renunciation is greater. What are we? What renunciation is ours? We have given small, puny little world for the sake of huge and big and infinite God. So we are not renunciates at all. You are renunciates. See the way of thinking. That's the speciality. So here we can see that passion for God. This life is useless until we realize God. Subodh crossed the Ganga, walked on the GT road towards Varanasi. His longing was so intense that he felt that life was useless without God realization. Do you know what Ishavasya Upanishad tells? Te Atmahan. And in his Bhashya, Shankaracharya writes, Te Atmahanano Karaha. Who are suiciders? Suiciders are the people. When do you commit suicide? That much of time you have forgotten God. You are not thinking of God. You are committing suicide. That Ishavasya is telling, that much of time you are not aware of your real nature. When you don't think of God, when you meditate, so each time you forget God, you are committing suicide. That is what our Ishavasya Upanishad is telling. You need not go and take poison or take a rope and hang yourself, or take something and fall into the water or drown yourself. No. Every time you are not thinking of God, every time you forget God, every time you forget your real nature, the Atman, the pure consciousness, every time you identify yourself with the ego, you are committing suicide. So now, his longing, Subodh's longing was so intense that he felt like life was useless, meaningless. Can't you understand? The life is so meaningless. But yet, we are so interested and we don't want to give up the world. Again and again, enjoy the suffering. Hop plum. There is one fruit in India, I don't know whether it is found here. In the local language there, it's called amtekai. So that fruit has only seed. The pulp is very little. Little means no pulp at all. The skin and the fruit, very little pulp. It is useless. They make only pickle out of it. In Bengal, it's called ambra. Not something that name, I forget that name. English name I forget. So plum, a variety of plum, hog plum. So useless. So this world is like that, useless plum. It is all suffering and suffering. For one drop of enjoyment, we drown ourselves in the ocean of suffering. For one grain of happiness, we drown ourselves in tons and tons of sufferings. But we enjoyed that suffering. We don't want to come out it at all. To drive that to your heart, Ramakrishna used to give the example. There are some worms, white worms, they will be moving like this inside the excreta. When the excreta is left outside, they will develop in the excreta. They eat the excreta and leave. So Ramakrishna tells, you take out that worms and put it into rice, they will die because they cannot eat rice and survive. They want only the excreta. So like that, God is within our heart. God is everything. It's infinite joy, infinite security, infinite peace. But we don't want to realize Him. Though He is so closer, He is though more nearer to anything, everything. He is more nearer than our father, mother, mind. He is our Antaryamin. So near, we don't want to find Him. We want this hog plum, empty world. So Subodhanandaji's longing was so intense that he felt his life was useless without God realization. If anyone asked about his home or family, he would say that he had none in this world and God alone. Later, he narrated the story of this journey in a letter. For the sake of my mental peace, I left home. I began my journey heading towards the western parts of India, that is from West Bengal or Calcutta. The western part of India there is the North India for us. That is the Uttar Pradesh where you find all the pilgrimages, Kashi and other things. So for him, from Calcutta, it is western part. So now, for the sake of my mental peace, I left my home. I began my journey heading towards the western part of India on foot, without carrying a single penny, no money with me. If anybody wanted to talk to me on the way, I would only talk about God. As a result, no worldly thought would enter my mind. Sometimes I stayed at night under a tree or in a meadow or on the bank of the river. At noon, I ate whatever I got by begging from door to door. Madhukari Bhiksha. You have to go, sannyasins have to beg in 5 houses only, or at the most 7 houses. If you don't get food, then you have to stay without food, to depend upon God. Whatever you get in the form of begging, you have to offer it to the Lord and take it as a prasad. That is Madhukari Bhiksha. Madhu means the honey bee, just like it collects the honey from the flowers. So collecting food from 5 houses if you get, otherwise no. So likewise here, Subodhanandaji or Subodh Saral, Subodh, the simple Subodh is telling, I would talk only of God. As a result, no worldly thought would enter my mind. Sometimes I stayed at night under a tree or in a meadow or on the bank of river. At noon, I ate whatever I got by begging, door to door like the mendicants. I had no extra clothing or shoes, barefoot, no extra clothing or umbrella, because you know the hot sun, 45 degree, 47 degree. Here in South Africa, if it crosses 30 degree, they feel it is so hot. There, the sun god, Surya, is very gracious. It will cross 45, 40. I have traveled in the local buses, the government buses, in that 47 degree. It would be like hot cooker, pressure cooker. That would be the heat. It was natural to us. So here, 30 degrees, 27 degrees is so beautiful to people who have come from India. So now, no umbrella, no extra cloth, no shoes, begging in the rain. Subodh Maharaj is telling, in the rain my clothes would get wet and they would eventually dry from my body's heat. Thus, walking, thinking of God, feeling for God intensely, Vyakulata, Subodh reached Varanasi, Kashi, the place of Lord Shiva, Vishwanatha. After visiting Lord Vishwanatha and Mother Annapurneshwari in their respective temples, Subodh he tells that he felt some degree of peace. Meanwhile, his relatives found out where he was and they forcibly brought him back to Calcutta. Now, it is very difficult for a free bird to live in a cage. Will the bird, which was moving about, flying about freely, would enjoy to stay in a cage? It's difficult for a free bird to live in a cage. Ramakrishna had given Subodh the taste of renunciation and divine bliss. He could no longer live at home. Now he joined the Ramakrishna monastery at Varahanagara, Baranagar, performing the traditional Viraja Homa. The sannyasins have to perform the Viraja Homa and take the sannyasa. So he joined the Ramakrishna monastery at Baranagar, performing the traditional Viraja Homa. Now Subodh took the final monastic vows and became known as Swami Subodhananda. As he was one of the youngest amongst the disciples, and also Ramakrishna himself used to call him as Kokha, child, because of his simplicity, childlike nature. You know that he advised Ramakrishna to take, he liked tea very much. So he told, if you take tea, your cancer will be cured. And Ramakrishna also so childlike, he believed it and he wanted to drink tea to cure the cancer. You just recently noted it. Both were so simple. Hola. So now, that's why all the other monastic members, because of his childlike nature and also very young, he was called, Swami Subodhananda was called as Kokha Maharaj. In the Ramakrishna order, Swami Vivekananda and others lovingly called him Kokha, which means little boy, Bacha. About his days in Baranagar, Subodhananda said, Swami Vivekananda and others were engaged in deep meditation and japa. I used to wash the dishes, sweep the floor, and do all sorts of household work. He was reluctant to say anything about his personal experiences. Once, when someone asked whether his Kundalini had awakened, he replied, yes, sometimes I feel a tickling sensation rising from the bottom of the backbone towards the head. In spite of the hardship and poverty, in the Baranagar monastery, the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna lived in a joyful mood. Ramakrishna had joined them together like a pearl necklace and had united them in their own goal. What is the common goal? God realization. Because Ramakrishna united them like the pearls with that thread which unites them to make a necklace. Likewise, Ramakrishna had joined them together like a pearl necklace and had united them in their one goal, that is God realization. They dived deep in the realm of spirituality and at the same time made their lives joyful and fun and joke. At night, when all were asleep, Latu would wake up secretly because he had overpowered sleep. He never slept afterwards. Sometimes he would sleep in the daytime, that's all. Otherwise, night, no sleep, only meditation. I've seen many sadhus when I joined the order as brahmacharins. I've seen Tulsi Maharaj, Kshamanandaji, then another Swamiji, Nandanandaji. Whole night they used to meditate. I've seen Kshamanandaji when I was looking after the kitchen and offering and the store of Ramakrishna as a brahmacharin. Tulsi Maharaj or Kshamanandaji used to come to Bangalore monastery from Dehradun or from Bengal. So he told Bangalore ashrama was Holy Mother's center, Mother's center. Mother manifested there, lived there, Mother Sharda Devi. So he used to come there once in a year, 6 monthly once, and stay there for 15 days or 1 month. And night he would not come for supper. So I used to carry some supper to him. We go to his room, he would have put down his mosquito curtain, put off the light, and he would be sitting in meditation. Go early in the morning, he'll be still sitting in meditation in the cot, in the mosquito curtain. Whole night he would be meditating. The same thing I saw with Nandanandaji Maharaj. You take the blanket, go to Holy Mother's rock, and sit there, spread that blanket and the asana, whole night erect sitting there in meditation. Whole night. I've seen with my own eyes, not hearsay. So likewise, you can see here, Latu Maharaj, but conquered sleep. When all went to sleep there in the Barnagar monastery, he used to secretly wake up, because spiritual practices have to be done secretly. Only you and your Ishtadevata should know, or God, or Guru. So now, when they were in the Barnagar monastery, Subodhanandaji is telling, once when Latu used to wake up in the night when all were sleeping. Latu would practice meditation and japa under his mosquito curtain. Subodhananda knew this. Mischievously, he put a wet cloth on the top of Latu's curtain. As the water began to drip, Latu became frightened because Baranagar monastery was haunted. There were ghosts living there. That's why these are poor monks, they cannot give costly rents. So since that house, Baranagar monastery, was broken and haunted, nobody would go to rent in that house. So that house rent was too low. Nobody will come. So this was an opportunity. So all the monastics, they lived there with the ghosts. They were not afraid of the ghosts. But here, Subodhananda is playing mischiefs. Mischievously, he put a wet cloth on the top of Latu's curtain. As the water began to drip, Latu became frightened. The Baranagar monastery was haunted. After discovering the mischief maker, Latu exclaimed, Sharat, he's complaining to Shardananda, Sharat, look at this rascal, Koka, he's frightening me. In December 1889, Subodhananda and Brahmananda went to Varanasi, again Kashi, to practice austerities. So they stayed at Pramata Dasa Mitra's garden house, and they lived on alms like other itinerant monks. In the early part of 1890, that is Swami Brahmananda and Swami Subodhananda, in the early parts of the year 1890, they went on a pilgrimage to Omkaranatha. Just like Kashi Vishwanatha is a Jyotirlinga, Omkaranatha in Madhya Pradesh is also a Jyotirlinga on the bank of Narmada. And after Omkaranath, we are doing the Mandukya Upanishad. Gaudapadacharya's disciple Govindapadacharya. He stayed here in Omkareshwar in a cave, and Adi Shankaracharya came to this place and got the spiritual initiation Diksha from his Guru Govindapada here. This Omkareshwar, if you go there, there is a small cave where Shankaracharya lived with his Guru. So it's on the bank of Narmada. Yeah, Subodhanandaji and Brahmanandaji, after visiting Kashi, they came to this Omkarnath on the bank of Narmada in Madhya Pradesh. And after that, they came down to Panchavati. Where is it, Panchavati? In Maharashtra. It is the origin of Narmada river. River Narmada, it's not Narmada, Godavari. The origin of Godavari. Down from that Omkareshwar Narmada river, you have to come down in Maharashtra. There is another Shiva temple. So that is the Jyotirlinga temple. So near that, Nasik, Trembakeshwar is the Jyotirlinga, Nasik. So a little away from that, 30-40 kilometers away, we have Panchavati. Why this Panchavati is popular? On the bank of Godavari, Ramachandra, Lord Rama, when he was in that Vanavasa, he liked that place. So Lakshmana built a very good hermitage or a hut for him. And they stayed there. Sita Mata, Ramachandra and Lakshmana stayed there for many years. So that's why that Panchavati, that place is called Panchavati, where Ramachandra stayed with Sita Mata, and that from that place it is Ravana kidnapped Mother Sita. And Surpanaka also came and tempted Rama and Lakshmana to marry them, and she wanted to kill Sita because Sita was obstructing her marrying Rama or Lakshmana. So that's why you see Lakshmana cut off her nose and ears, Surpanaka's nose and ears, and that nose fell in this place called Nasik. Nasika means nose. Because of this demoness, Surpanaka's nose fell there. That place is called Nasik. And there we have this origin of Godavari river and the Jyotirlinga, Shiva's famous temple, Trembakeshwar. So I have visited that spot when I went on pilgrimage to Trembakeshwar and to call Omkareshwar. So now Swami Subodhananda and Swami Brahmananda, after visiting Omkarnath, staying there doing tapasya, they came to Panchavati. So then they went to Bombay. From there they went upwards, Dwaraka, Gujarat. Dwaraka is the place, Dwarakanatha, Lord Krishna and Balarama and the Yadus, they came away from Vrindavan. After Krishna was 10 years, after that killing Kamsa, going to Mathura, then he never went back to Vrindavan. With that family, they came away and they were ruling at Dwaraka, Dwarakesha or Dwarakanatha. So they came here to Dwaraka now in Gujarat. They came to Dwaraka. Then there is another pilgrimage center in Gujarat, that is Girnar. Girnar, that is the place, if you are to climb up that hillock, big mountain, you have to climb 10,000 steps. Very hot, it is black stone. It will absorb the sun rays, 45 degree, 47 degree in the daytime. And it is black, it absorbs everything, black color. Then it will be radiating heat. So if it is 45 degree, 47 degree, because of this radiating that heat of the mountain, it will be 50 degree. Very, very hot. And it is impossible to climb up in the daytime because of this heat. So I started climbing up 10,000 steps. Imagine 10,000 steps. Started at evening 6 o'clock because it will be little somewhat cool, but it was still hot. Then I reached the top, the summit at midnight 2:30. And I thought it will be very hot there too. But because of the high altitude, There the temperature is very cold, freezing cold. I didn't know that. I went with ordinary cloth and nowhere to stay at midnight 2:30. Which ashramas will be open? So I had to stay in a shop shivering there. Then afterwards I went to a monastery, took bath, took breakfast. Then went on so many complexes of temples, Jain temples, Hindu temple, Shakti Pita, Divine Mother temple is there, Amba Devi. And after that, if you still go up and go down a little, then you get the Dattatreya Kshetra. So I visited all those things, and that very next day, I came down 10,000 steps to the bottom of that mountain. So that place, Girnar, is famous for the Asiatic lions. Very rarely, because in India and other Asian parts, we have tigers. So lions are very rare. They have become extinct. But that Asiatic lions are present only here in Gujarat, Girnar. Lions are present, Gir lions, Gir forest. So here they came here to that Girnar on that mountain and they were doing tapasya there too. So Girnar, Pushkar in Rajasthan, we have Pushkar. Holy Mother also visited that place. I have also visited that twice or thrice. I climbed that mountain, Gayatri Pahad. So Brahma did a very big yaga here in Pushkar. Here only in India, that is the only place they worship Brahma. Nowhere do you find Brahma's temple. Only in Pushkar you find Brahmaji's temple. Nowhere. If you go to Thailand and Burma and other places, you may find Brahma worshipped. But in India, nowhere Brahma's worship is there. Chaturmukha Brahma, creator. But here there is the Brahma temple, Pushkar. So I have been there too, and there is Gayatri Pahad. Holy Mother also visited and climbed that. Now they have kept the people, the image, marble image of Holy Mother there in Girnar, in the top of that mountain, Gayatri Pahad in Pushkar. So I have visited all these pilgrimage sites. So Pushkar in Rajasthan, and later too, again they went to Vrindavan and Uttar Pradesh, the place where Lord Krishna as child played. The birth was in Mathura, and he played. He was brought up as a child on the bank of Yamuna up to his 10th year. And after his 10th year, he came out of Vrindavan. The playground of Krishna, Vrindavan. Subodhananda and Brahmananda stayed in Vrindavan from the first week of February to the middle of April 1890, practicing various spiritual disciplines. As Subodhananda was very fond of tea, he would go for tea every day to the cottage of Vijay Krishna Goswami, a saintly devotee of Ramakrishna. While they had tea, they would often speak of Sri Ramakrishna. One day, Vijay Krishna Goswami was a householder devotee of Sri Ramakrishna and also a Vaishnava saint now. Earlier he was the leader of the Brahma Samaj. Now he has become a Vaishnava saint. One day Vijay Krishna Goswami, who was also a disciple and devotee of Ramakrishna, he said, I have never seen another person like him, that is Sri Ramakrishna. Because as a saint he started going around in India and stayed in Vrindavan and doing tapasya there. So he had met so many saintly people. And he was also acquainted with Ramakrishna. Now comparing, he's telling, Vijay Krishna Goswami is telling to Subodhananda, I have never seen another Ramakrishna, excuse me. I have never seen another person like him, Sri Ramakrishna. On another occasion, Vijay Krishna Goswami, the Vaishnava saint, said, I have come across so many illumined souls, realized souls, who have gained perfection in their respective moods and faiths. But I have never seen anyone except Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who attained perfection in all the moods, in all the faiths. This is something new in the history of this world. So that Vaishnava saint is telling about Ramakrishna because he's seen everything. He has met so many people, so many realized souls. And now, after meeting them, now he's telling Vijay Krishna Goswami to Subodhananda, I have come across so many illumined souls who have attained perfection in their respective moods and faiths, but I have never seen anyone except Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa who attained perfection in all moods and all faiths. This is something new in the history of the world. This is told by that Vaishnava saint, Vijay Krishna Goswami. They are orthodox Vaishnavas in the lineage of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is telling that. During his stay in Vrindavan, Subodhananda circumambulated the playground of Krishna. There is a tradition in Vrindavan. What is that? Circumambulation, parikrama. There are two parikramas. One is the inner one. It is just some 6 kilometers or so, where you will be covering that all the Radha Kund, Krishna Kund, Sham Kund, then that Govardhana Parvata. So inner parikrama of Vrindavan, where Krishna played, bank of Yamuna, all that place. So that is 6 kilometers going round on foot, walking, taking the name of the Lord, taking the name of Mother Radha. There in Vrindavan, you are not worshipping Krishna, but important deity is Radha, Mother Radha. So whomever, wherever you meet anybody, another person, you have to tell Radhe Radhe. No Krishna, Radhe Radhe they will tell. So she is the empress there, Radha, Mother Radha. So 6 kilometer circumambulation. Then there is one more 21 kilometers, like a outer ring road. The whole of Vrindavan and so many other places you can go around, 21 kilometers. So now that is the pilgrims, when they go there, they walk and thinking of Krishna, they go around. This is the place where Krishna lived and played as a small boy in Vrindavan. So this parikrama or circumambulation is there. So during his stay in Vrindavan, Subodhananda circumambulated the playground of Krishna. So this is much more difficult one, not even the inner and outer. A distance of 168 miles. 168 miles means it is something like 300 kilometers. So a distance of 168 miles, he covered this long journey alone, without any belongings. One day, a woman saw him, and that woman, she was young, and seeing this youthful and beautiful Subodhananda, that woman, young woman, was inflamed by lust. So with that intention, lustful intention, she attacked Subodhananda from behind. Now, what will Subodhananda do there? Frightened, he prayed to the master aloud for protection. He shouted, Ramakrishna, protect me, Ramakrishna, protect me from this lustful woman. Immediately, as if Ramakrishna heard his prayer, that woman who attacked him with that lustful thought, that woman fell on the ground unconscious. From Vrindavan, Subodhananda left for a pilgrimage in the Himalayas. He visited the holy shrines of Kedaranatha. So that is the Shiva place. I've told the story many times. The Pandavas wanted to, in Kashi, Shiva is sitting. Anybody going there and touching his head, the Shivalinga, and pouring Ganga water on that Shivalinga, touching and keep placing Bilva, then Shiva is sitting there and accepting all their sins. The Pandavas, after the war, they thought they have killed their own kith and kin, so they have so much of sins. So they went to Kashi for Shiva's grace to remove their sins. But Shiva, Leelamaya Purusha, he had little desire to play. So he ran away, he went away from Kashi, escaped from the Pandavas. So Pandavas went in search. Where did Shiva go? So they came to Himalayas. Because Shiva had gone to the Himalayas, he wanted to run away from the Pandavas. Now they started their journey in search of Shiva from Haridwar, That's why it's called Hara Dwara, the doorway to find Lord Shiva. Pandavas search there. And also some people go to Badrinath, that is Narayana's Tapasya Kshetra in Badrinath. So the Vaishnavas call it as Haridwara. The Shaivas called it as Haradwara, but it was this Pandavas who went, so it was Haradwara. Same, Harihara are not different, it's the same thing, call whatever you want. So now from Haridwar, Shiva went to, in between this Kedarnath and deep Himalayas, in between there is one place called Gupta Kashi. There he was secretly hiding. Pandavas came to know, they went there also. Shiva escaped from that place too and went to Badrinath, took the form of a bull and mixed amongst thousands and thousands of cows grazing there. So since Shiva was sitting there secretly, Gupta, so that's why that place is called even now Gupta Kashi. Kashi is the living place of Shiva. Since Shiva secretly stayed here, it's called Gupta Kashi. Then the Pandavas also went to the Badrinath, the present area. Sorry, not Badrinath, Kedarnath. The present Kedarnath area. There Shiva was hiding among the cows. More than 10,000, 20,000 cows come to graze in the Himalayan grasslands. So he mixed amongst those cows. So how can you identify which is Shiva in the form of that bull there, like all the other cows? So Bhima hit upon a plan. He was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. He used to do every day Atmalinga worship of Shiva. He used to take out the Shiva's Atmalinga from his heart and do his worship. He was a very great devotee of Shiva. So he hit upon a plan. He put the leg on one hillock and another hillock. That was the only way where all the cows have to go back to the house, to the plains. So he made all the cows, 10,000, 20,000 cows to pass under his legs. All the ordinary cows went under his leg. Do you think that Lord Shiva, the Paramapurusha, Parameshwara, will go under the leg of ordinary human being like Bhima? So that Shiva in the form of the bull was staying there far off. Pandavas came to know it is Shiva. So they ran to catch hold of his leg. But Shiva wanted to escape from there too. Then he went underground. He went to the ground. Then by that time, India, the bulls have a hump on the back. I don't find that here in the Western countries, but the Indian variety have the hump on their back. So Shiva in the form of the bull was going down, and when that hump was only on the top, it was also going down. Bhima was a very fast runner. He ran and caught hold of that hump of the bull in the form of that, Shiva in the form of that bull. Then Shiva was pleased with all these devotion and steadfastness and perseverance of Pandavas. Then he gave them the vision, darshan. He stood there, told them, don't worry, I will take your sins, and he accepted all their sins. So that Shivalinga, which is there in the form of the bull's hump of the bull, if you go to Kedarnath, I think many times you've seen that picture. If that picture can be shown, it is like that Shivalinga is like that hump of the bull. It is not like regular Shivalinga. That is Kedarnath Shiva. And that bull's different organs started manifesting in different places. They are also called Panchakedara, Madhyameshwara, Tunganatha, where his front legs got manifested of that bull, Shiva in the form of the bull. It is called Tunganatha. Somewhere there is the tail and the middle portion of the cow or the bull in the form of that Shiva manifested in the middle portion. It's called Madhyameshwara. So Panchakedara is there. So I visited some of them, but Kedarnath I visited there. So now they have come here to Kedarnath too, the important pilgrimage of Lord Shiva. It's also one of the Jyotirlinga. So from Vrindavan, Subodhananda left for the pilgrimage in the Himalayas. He visited the holy shrine of Kedarnath and Badrinath. What is Badrinath? Where Narayana did tapasya. That is Badrinath. So there is Narayana temple. While he was practicing austerities in Haridwar, the following incident happened. What is that following incident? We will see tomorrow, Monday. So we'll stop our conversation here. So if you have any questions on what we have discussed or on spiritual life, you can ask. If you have any doubts, if you have any questions, you can ask. Any questions on the live chat? There are no questions or doubts on the live chat. So in the Google Live, anybody wants to ask any question? Otherwise, I will conclude with the prayer. Okay. Om Priyatam Pundarikakshaha Sarvayagneshwaro Harihi Tasmin Tushte Jagat Tushtam Prenite Prenitam Jagat Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you. Namaste. Om Namo Narayanaya.